out of it. What does that mean? Back with my fantastic expert panel. I want to go straight out to Brian Monroe, CNN contributor, who has interviewed Michael Jackson. I understand you have some new information on Michael Jackson's dehydration levels.
Well, you know, when I, in the course of this investigation, I've been talking to several people who've been close to Michael, and including one person who was one of his health advisors during the trial. And you may remember that even back before the trial, after the Pepsi incident where he burned his scalp, and that's when he first admitted that he was hooked on painkillers and was trying to wean himself off of it. Well, the trial took a tremendous toll on Michael, both physically, personally, and emotionally. And towards the end of it, he called Dick Gregory, who's been one of his health advisors, looking at natural and homeopathic solutions, early in the morning and said, "Dick, I need you to come help me." That night, they ended up, he was so worn out, so tired, and so dehydrated. Dick said, "Just you, me, and a driver, we're going to go." They got in the car. They were going to drive from Santa Barbara all the way up to San Francisco. They didn't want anyone to know about this. They got about 20 minutes down the road, and they decided to turn a different direction and ended up at the Cottage Hospital in Santa Barbara. They walked in by themselves, unannounced. Dick, Michael, they put Michael right on the stretcher, hooked him up to IV about 5 o'clock that night, and was told that by the next morning at 5:15, he was still on IV drips, trying to get hydrated because he was so wiped out. And the doctor told them that it was good he brought him in at that time, because had they not, he could have been dead 12 hours later.
Well, if anybody says, and people have, that, well, all this drug use is because he was a broken man as a result of the criminal trial, the fact is that evidence coming in predates that criminal trial, because it comes from the raid that kicked off the criminal case. TMZ reporting that, well, actually, what I'd like to do is take a look at the footage of the infamous 2003 police raid on Neverland that Michael Jackson said left him feeling really violated. I don't know if we have a video of that raid. Critics said there were enough cop cars, if you remember that famous raid that we saw on videotape so many times, for a terrorist takedown. But TMZ now reports that the raid uncovered a whole pharmacy of syringes, powerful narcotics, IV bags, vials, sedatives, painkillers, and Xanax, and that Jackson self-injected Demerol, according to a doctor treating him back in 2005. Plus, we've also learned, there's the raid I'm talking about. Literally 70 cars came in and swooped in on Neverland. According to a 2004 document, Michael Jackson took upwards of 40 Xanax a night and asked employees to get prescription meds for him under their names. Ken Seeley, TMZ is also reporting that Michael Jackson had injection marks on his neck. Is that where addicts go when they run out of space on the rest of their body?
Yeah, Jane, you know, as a recovering addict, that's what all addicts do. Is
well, I never injected anything. I'd like to make that very clear. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I wasn't injecting anything. Go ahead.
We hear the stories. We hear the stories all the time. And I also didn't inject. But, you know, people that are injecting, they have to find an area to inject where it doesn't continue to cause cysts and other medical conditions. So that is known. But, you know, as we always know, when there's a problem like this and something like this happens, is people are looking, and there's always going to be conflicting stories. I think if this is the case, that this was an overdose, and as you said before this past week, you know, once an addict, always an addict. It doesn't change. And if this is the case, let Michael, you know, die in vain, and let's take this as an example to say we need to do something to look for these signs and help these people.
Jane, I'd like to jump in.
Jane, go ahead.
Jane, I'd like to jump in. You know, I wonder what happened to the children during all this time, and why didn't some of these people that are so interested in the children come forward at that time? You know, sometimes with an addict, it takes something like taking away children to really wake them up, and maybe they could have helped him before this happened. And we're going to talk about that coming up next, and could all this impact the custody issue? Fabulous panel, stay right there. We've been talking about the horrors of addiction for a while on this show. In my new book, I dive deep into my own personal battle with alcoholism and my journey to sobriety. It's a recovery memoir due out this fall, but you can pre-order your copy right now.